President Trump did a tweet last night and a tweet this morning. Not presidential. His tweet last night said, we're going to let the system collapse. We're going to hurt innocent people because we're angry we lost politically. That is small. That is not what a president does. And I hope our Senate colleagues, our House colleagues on his side of the aisle will turn a deaf ear on that. The things I mentioned will help make the system stronger. They're non-ideological, and we can do those first, and then we can look at each other's ideas. So this idea of sabotage is a very bad thing, and Donald Trump doesn't even get it politically, because if he sabotages the system, it's going to hurt him, as well as hurting millions of Americans. And second, this morning, Donald Trump pulled away from the bipartisanship that John McCain and so many senators felt last night by saying we should change the rules and go to 51. Hello? He had 51. He only needed 51 in the health care bill and couldn't do it. So let him turn around too. Let him understand that the only way we get major things done in America, in the Congress and particularly in the Senate, is bipartisan. And I hope he changes. But his analysis is based on fluff, because he had the 51 votes already with reconciliation and he couldn't get it done. And then he says, let's go down to 51. I just don't get it. Finally, just a deeper analysis. Well, people blame Mitch McConnell. I don't think that's fair. I think there were deep, deep fault lines in what our Republican colleagues tried to do, because Donald Trump and the Republican Party campaigned on one thing: lower premiums, more coverage, don't cut Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And the bill they put together did just the opposite. They didn't campaign on what they proposed, tax cuts to the rich, slashing Medicaid. But what happened was the hard right Koch brother wing of the Republican Party has too much influence. And for years they've been on the outside attacking. They're pretty good at attacking. Now they're on the inside and they can't get anything done because they're so far away from the American people. And I say this because if they do the same thing, campaign one way and then propose legislation another way in favor of the wealthy, powerful few, they'll fail on tax reform, they'll fail on infrastructure. Instead, on those issues, work with us in a bipartisan way, and we could do good things on both those issues. Ready for your questions.
Leader Schumer, a couple questions about how things went down last night. Obviously, it was very unclear all evening which way Senator McCain was going to go. When did you know he was going to go now?
Well, I'm not going to get... I can tell you, John and I talked 4 or 5 times each day since he came back. And I had a lot of discussions with him, but I'm going to leave it at that.
And do you think that his...
He's one of my closest friends in the Senate.
Right, and you've worked together on a lot of different issues. Do you think that his strained relationship with the president had anything to do with this decision?
John McCain is blessed with an internal gyroscope of right and wrong. And I think that more than any... He gets angry, for sure. But when the push comes to shove and there are brass tacks, that internal gyroscope of right and wrong guides him. Yes?
The president's tweet about letting it implode, though, did end with "then deal." Now, doesn't that hold out the possibility that the president might be open to working with Democrats? Can you try to read between the characters?
Let us pray. I mean, we haven't seen it, and I've told the president we want to work with him on issues like infrastructure, but his idea of bipartisanship is he comes up with the bill, we have no input, and then we should support it. That's just not how the world works. Yes?
Senator Schumer, you said that the president's tweet about letting Obamacare implode was small. Are you trying to call his bluff? And what if he is dead serious about that and Republicans after last night refuse to work with Democrats on even fixing Obamacare?
I didn't shut it off. It'll hurt the American people, and it'll hurt him. 65% say it's of the American people, including a large number of Republicans and Trump supporters, say it's on his watch. His job as president is to make people's lives better, not wage a political war and hurt people to make a point. And it'll fail. It'll fail. And his Republican colleagues know that.
Do you buy him?
Yes.
You talked about the bipartisanship, but in his closing comments, Leader McConnell didn't seem to really indicate that he was actually interested in doing the marketplace reforms that he quoted in the past. How did you read those comments, and can you point to like one specific policy that you think you can do with Republicans?
Well, I think there are a bunch, but I think the things I mentioned at the beginning have had bipartisan support. Even Leader McConnell had said a few weeks ago, if this fails, we'll work with Chuck Schumer and the Democrats. And the first thing we'd want to do is try, whether in the budget negotiations or elsewhere, is make the cost sharing permanent. The insurance industry, hardly our allies, have said the number one way to stabilize the system and keep premiums down is make cost sharing permanent. And I believe that would have bipartisan support. I think there are a lot of things that would have bipartisan support. I even talked to Paul Ryan this morning about working together on these kinds of things. And there's a thirst to do it. And I just hope, as I said, the magic moment of John McCain last night has lasting effect and makes us work together in a better way. And both sides are to blame for the past. Yes.
Senator, Democrats have made opposing President Trump a big part of what you're about right now. Are you ready to say to Democratic voters, stand back, we're going to work with Republicans and we can get something signed by this president?
My first conversation with President Trump the week after he won is, let's work together. And I told him, to no avail, that infrastructure was probably the best place to start out. So we've always wanted to work with him. We sent him our infrastructure plan. We've talked to him about other issues. He hasn't seemed to want to work with us. As soon as he does, we're ready.
You mentioned a lot of Democrat line items passed. What are you willing to give that are Republican line items? Medical device tax, Cadillac tax?
Look, I'm not going to get into negotiations here the day after, but there has to be a give and take. And I think my colleagues in my caucus know that. And I just want to say that. I left that out. Not only praise for McCain and Collins and Murkowski, but my caucus, our caucus, was so united. You had Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin and everyone in between on the same page. And we're a family. We watch each other's backs. Almost every major decision we made was not made by me unilaterally, but by calling our caucus together, and most of the good ideas came from various members just raising their hands and saying, what about this, what about that? We had 2 caucuses yesterday to discuss what to do. So we're going to work with them, and our caucus unity was something fabulous. Yeah, Cassie.
Mr. Leader, does President Trump understand healthcare policy?
Well, I was amazed that he said, let's go down to 51 votes to help get it passed when they were there. And I haven't talked to him at length on health care policy, but my Republican colleagues who do say he doesn't understand it very well.
Do you think that that will hurt whatever bipartisan effort you try to do?
You know, the 2 major things, look, I hope President Trump, seeing that he's been unable to get much done his way, does it a different way, a bipartisan way. Works from the middle, not just from, the hard right. But I think whether he does or not, my Republican colleagues want to do it. The 2 major legislative successes we've had this year, the budget appropriations process and Russia sanctions, were bipartisan. They passed the Senate with large majorities, people from both sides voting. We can have many more successes if we do that. Yes.
A 2-part question. You seemed on the floor, the way I looked at it, when some of your colleagues started applauding, you sort of gestured to them maybe to stop applauding.
Yeah.
Can you characterize what's going on?
Yeah, I don't think it was a time for celebration or political victory. I said it last night on the floor. It's not a time for celebration. It was a time of relief. Those of us who walked our states and heard people's anguish. I'll never forget a mother with a 3-year-old daughter who had Medicaid because the daughter was disabled. And without Medicaid, she said, my daughter will die. And there she was, this strong woman with her little child. And every one of us saw instances like that over and over and over again. That's what motivated us. That's what motivated us. And I didn't think it was a time for political victory because we got to work together to make things better. I thought it was a time of you know, grateful appreciation for the courage of Collins, Murkowski, McCain, the unity of our caucus, but let's think of the future, not of a political victory.
Are there some parts of Obamacare that just aren't sustainable?
Well, look, no one said it's perfect. Again, I'm not going to get into all the details here. No one said it perfect, and we want to make it better, plain and simple. And we're ready to work in a bipartisan way to do that. Taylor?
How are you going to avoid a train wreck in September when we turn to these things that have sort of been delayed on the debt limit or keeping
Look,
government open?
I hope that 2017 budget and appropriations process is a model for 2018. We put together a proposal. Leader McConnell, Speaker Ryan, Leader Pelosi, and myself, along with our ranking members and chairs of appropriations, did a darn good thing without much fuss. No muss, no fuss. I hope the same thing will happen when we deal with the issues of budget and appropriations and funding the government next time. And how debt ceiling plays into that, we'll wait and see.
Do you think we get started on that next week?
I don't know. That's Leader McConnell. I don't know what he proposes to do next week. I had hoped, in honor of John McCain, we could do NDAA. I thought we could have probably worked out the Rand Paul issue on the floor there. McCain and Reid and I were talking to him, but it'll be up to Leader McConnell.
Is there a role for Democrats to play in tax reform, especially since it's going to happen under reconciliation?
Well, if it happens under reconciliation, they're putting the same sign out on the door, no Democrats wanted, as they did with health care, and it'll, I think, lead to the same result. Okay? Last one.
About your conversation with Speaker Ryan today, and does that open the door to dialoguing and compromise?
I've always gotten along with Speaker Ryan. In fact, you may remember that he and I worked on a proposal to repatriate some money and put it into infrastructure. And so, look, again, I think the four leaders left to their own devices along with their caucuses, could get a lot done. But there are outside forces that pull things apart. The president has not been helpful in bringing people together. Again, I hope last night was a magic moment that changes all that. Thank you, everybody.